Here's a quick review of what we have learned so far in this module. Question 1 asks, true or false every thought you have is true? The correct answer is false. This is one of the most important ideas in the entire module. Thoughts can feel very real, especially when they are strong, emotional, or repeated many times. But a thought is not automatically a fact. Sometimes thoughts are accurate, and sometimes they are distorted, exaggerated, or influenced by stress, fear, or habit. Learning this helps us step back from the mind and become less controlled by every idea that appears. This understanding prepares us for the next question, where we look more closely at how thoughts influence emotions and behavior. Question 2 asks, which comes first? The correct answer is thought. In many situations, a thought comes before an emotion and before an action. For example, if you think, I am going to embarrass myself, you may then feel anxious, and that anxiety may lead you to avoid speaking up. This does not mean every experience is simple or happens in exactly the same order every time, but it shows an important pattern. The way we think often shapes the way we feel and what we do next. This is why becoming aware of thoughts matters so much. Once we understand that thoughts can come first, we can begin to notice when certain thought patterns create unnecessary stress. That leads directly into the next question about thinking traps. Question 3 asks us to identify the thinking trap in the statement, I failed one quiz, I'll never succeed. The correct answer is overgeneralization. Overgeneralization happens when the mind takes one event and turns it into a broad, negative conclusion about the future. Instead of seeing one quiz as one moment, the mind creates a much bigger story. This always happens, or I will never do well. This kind of thinking can quickly lower confidence and increase hopelessness. It is helpful to notice that the thought feels convincing, but it is not necessarily true. It is a mental pattern, not a fact. After identifying a trap like this, the next important question is, how do we work with thoughts skillfully during mindfulness practice? That is what the next slide explores. Question 4 asks, what is the purpose of labeling thoughts during meditation? The purpose of labeling thoughts is to help us recognize them without getting pulled into them. When we quietly note a thought with a simple label such as planning, worrying, remembering, or judging, we create a small space between ourselves and the thought. Instead of becoming the thought, we observe it. This strengthens mindfulness and metacognition, which means awareness of our own thinking. Labeling is not about stopping thoughts or criticizing ourselves for having them. It is about noticing clearly and calmly. This skill becomes especially useful in daily life when difficult situations arise, which connects to the next question about using the STOP method. Question 5 asks you to describe one situation where the STOP method could help you. This question invites you to apply the module to real life. The STOP method can be useful in many situations, such as before a test, during an argument, when receiving a message that upsets you, or when you start thinking negatively about yourself. Stop means pausing before reacting. It helps you step out of autopilot, notice what is happening in your mind and body, and respond more wisely. For example, if you get a poor grade and immediately think, I am terrible at this, the STOP method can help you pause, notice that thought, and choose a more balanced response. After these review questions, we now move into the practical resources that will help you continue building these skills on your own. This slide introduces the downloadable student workbook. This workbook is designed to support your learning beyond the video lessons. It includes lesson summaries to help you review the main ideas, thinking trap illustrations to make abstract concepts easier to recognize, reflection exercises to deepen understanding, and guided practice notes to support mindfulness exercises. In other words, the workbook helps turn ideas into practice. Instead of simply hearing about thoughts and thinking traps, you get to work with them directly. This is especially useful because mindfulness becomes stronger through repetition and reflection. The next resource continues that practical support by offering guided audio practices. This slide presents the guided audio collection. These audio practices are meant to help you experience the skills from this module, not just understand them intellectually. The collection includes a watching thoughts meditation, which helps you observe thoughts as they arise, a clouds visualization, which teaches you to let thoughts pass by without holding onto them, a leaves on a stream meditation, which offers another gentle way to practice detachment from thinking, a short stop practice for everyday use, and an exam anxiety meditation for a very common student challenge. Each practice offers a different way to build the same core skill, noticing thoughts without immediately believing or obeying them. After guided practice, it is also helpful to track your own patterns in writing, which is why the next slide introduces the thought journal. This slide explains the thought journal. The journal is a daily tool for building awareness of how thoughts affect emotions and actions. Each page includes space for the situation, the thought, the emotion, the thinking trap, an alternative perspective, and the outcome. This structure helps you slow down and examine your inner experience step by step. For example, instead of simply saying, "I felt bad," you can look more carefully at what happened, what you told yourself, and how that shaped your reaction. Over time, this helps you identify repeating mental habits and practice creating more balanced responses. The journal makes the process visible. The next resource helps visualize this same process in a simple and memorable format. This slide introduces the infographic on thoughts, emotions, and actions. It shows a clear sequence: thought, then emotion, then behavior, then outcome. This is a powerful model because it helps explain why one small thought can have a large effect on how a day unfolds. If the thought is unhelpful, it may lead to a painful emotion, a poor choice, and an outcome that reinforces the original thought. But the infographic also shows where mindfulness creates a pause. That pause is the key. It gives you a chance to notice the thought before it fully controls the next step. This visual summary connects many of the ideas from the module and prepares you for a resource that focuses more specifically on common thinking traps. This slide presents the Thinking Trap Cheat Sheet. This is a quick reference guide to help you identify some of the most common unhelpful thinking patterns, including catastrophizing, mind reading, overgeneralization, all-or-nothing thinking, and fortune-telling. Each one is explained with everyday student examples, which makes it easier to recognize these patterns in school, friendships, sports, family life, and self-talk. The goal is not to judge yourself for having these thoughts. Everyone experiences thinking traps sometimes. The goal is to become familiar with them so you can notice them earlier and respond with more wisdom. Once you can identify a thought pattern, you are better prepared to question it. That is exactly what the next slide supports. This slide introduces the bonus PDF, 15 questions to challenge unhelpful thoughts. This resource is meant to help you examine thoughts more carefully instead of accepting them immediately. The questions encourage critical thinking and emotional balance. For example, is this definitely true? What evidence supports this thought? What evidence challenges it? What would I tell a friend? These questions help weaken the power of automatic negative thinking by bringing in fairness, logic, and perspective. They do not ask you to pretend everything is perfect. Instead, they help you think more clearly and realistically. This resource brings together mindfulness and reflection in a very practical way. From here, we arrive at the final summary of the module. This final slide summarizes the main learning of Module 5. By the end of this module, you understand that thoughts are automatic mental events, not objective facts. You have learned that the brain naturally creates stories, predicts what might happen, and returns to memories from the past. You have also seen that unhelpful thinking patterns can increase stress, anxiety, and self-doubt. Most importantly, you have learned that mindfulness creates space between a thought and a reaction. In that space, you can observe with curiosity instead of reacting automatically. This module is an important turning point in the course. Earlier modules focused on training attention. Now, you are going a step further by developing metacognition, which means noticing your own thinking. This is a powerful life skill. It supports emotional intelligence, resilience, wise decision-making, and long-term mental well-being. As you continue, remember this central lesson: you do not have to believe every thought that appears in your mind. You can notice it, question it, and choose your response with greater awareness. That is the beginning of true mental mastery.